Hey, what do you say, ladies and gentlemen? Dan and I are excited to introduce our Buy Me a Coffee page. We've had a lot of listeners reach out and say, hey there, bub, we really appreciate what you do and want to support the show. Well, here's one way to do that without big corporations taking, 30% of the cut of your generosity. Just head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/bigbluebanter and chip in if you'd like to support us directly. Every contribution means a lot, and it helps keep the show going strong. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for listening, and have a lovely day.
Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter, New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneier, joined as always my co-host Nick Filato. And I did want to start today's All-22 defensive film breakdown with a question for you. Did you get a chance to hear legend Carl Banks and his take today on Dexter Lawrence?
I did, yeah. I saw that floating around Twitter, and I think it was well said by Carl Banks. I think it needed to be said. And it's 8 games now, Dan. We're 8 games in, and Dexter Lawrence has 16 pressures on the season. I think Roy Robertson Harris has 9 on 104 less pass rushing snaps. I mean, it's yes, he's double teamed a lot. I get that. He's still a good football player on tape at times, but this is not the Dexter Lawrence that we've come to enjoy over the last 2 or 3 seasons. Something is off. I don't know if it's the injury. Could be that. I'm not sure, but he is not nearly as impactful as what we've seen recently, and it's pretty apparent at this point. So I think it was well said by Carl, and it had to be said.
Yeah, Carl said, look, defenses are not respecting you right now. And I think what he means by that is they're not game planning to stop you. Now, there are still a lot of double teams on Dexter Lawrence, so they're respecting him in that regard. But there are some reps that really are puzzling. Throw this one up that I put in the queue real quick. This is one I was looking at later. Earlier, this was on a key 4th down. It would have changed the entire game. You just don't really typically expect in this play, from what we've seen in the past from Dexter Lawrence, to not be able to just bull rush Toth, a backup center, right back into Hurts, condense the passing lane, and then not allow Hurts to scramble up through this. This should be a rep that Dexter Lawrence, or in the past, has just dominated, right? He sent Toth 3-4 steps back into Jalen Hurts' lap. It's not a double team here until the end of the play. And it's just, instead, he loses the rep, straight up loses the rep to Toth, a player who's not a good center in the NFL. He's a backup journeyman player. And this isn't the only rep. You'll see it throughout. Nick, you brought it up. He only has 16 pressures on the year, and the double team rate is one thing to note. But in the past, Dexter Lawrence has done well despite being double teamed, and he's produced pressures despite being double teamed. And also, you can note, and I know some people have, look, this defensive scheme is not a good fit for Dexter Lawrence. It's not as good of a fit for Dexter Lawrence, right? We'd rather see him lined up over the center like he was on that play more often. But the fact remains, they've done it occasionally, A, and he hasn't gotten a lot of success, and he hasn't found a lot of success doing it. And then B, he had success last season before the injury in this specific scheme, in Shane Bowen's scheme. So he's clearly playing at a different level this year versus last year. I think I'm hopeful that it's just injury based, right? Because then it's something that maybe he can get healthier. He can work through it. I know someone in my replies, Nick, I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but mentioned something about he's playing with a different arm brace or whatever it may be. And it's not allowing him to extend. I do think his hand usage isn't what it was at times, but the other side of it is are there problems with him from a standpoint of is he just sick and tired of the losing and being part of this franchise?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get into his head, and you can definitely tell he's upset in the post-game interview, but you would hope that he would be, right? All these post-game interviews of all this consistent losing that he's experienced. He's still only just 27 years old, so he's a young player. He's had 60, 70 pressure seasons in his past. He had 9 sacks last year, 8.5 sacks, something like that.
9. Yeah.
And this year it's just not there. He hasn't been an impact player. I don't think like a true impact player in any game this season. Right. And now he has impacts, but when I say an impact player, I think Brian Burns is an impact player. I think Kayvon Thibodeau has been an impact player. I think Abdul Carter has been an impact player, even though he only has a half sack this season. I haven't really seen that necessarily from Dexter Lawrence, other than the allocation of the double teams, which obviously is critical. That's a big deal. But in the past, he defeated those double teams, and we're not seeing that aspect of it right now. And I just think with the edge rushers the Giants have currently, and a fully
Right.
healthy, whatever it is with Dexter Lawrence playing at the level that we know that he can play at, I think this defense could unlock another level, but we just haven't seen that at all this season.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the rep I put up there, I just haven't seen reps like that one where it just, I don't want to say he gets beat, but he just doesn't overwhelm a player that he should always overwhelm. And it just doesn't look to me when I watch, because it wasn't the only clip, it doesn't look to me when I'm watching Dexter Lawrence like he's playing with the same, I don't want to say like aggression. I don't know what the word is. I'll try to think of it for the next show, but it just doesn't look like he's playing the same way that
Same
he's
energy,
played in the
maybe.
past.
And
Maybe
now
it's
energy,
energy.
yeah, but now energy could also be like, oh, are you saying he's dogging it? No, we're not saying
No.
that, but it's there is a different feel to the way Dexter Lawrence is playing football right now. Their
Yeah.
double teams are uprooting him at the line of scrimmage, right? Like
Right.
even when he is being the nose tackle, there was a double team on the 2nd and 5, 18-yard run by Tae Bigsby. Now they didn't. The run wasn't towards Dexter Lawrence, right? Because there was a cutback lane because the Giants are the most undisciplined defense seemingly in the NFL. At least they were in week 8. They were just completely terrible in their run fits. It was atrocious. It was one of the worst I've seen in a while. We'll get into all of that. But there was a double team at the line of scrimmage with Toth and Tyler Steen. So you're not talking about two world beaters where Dexter Lawrence drove like 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. And that was at the nose tab. Everyone talks, oh, well, he doesn't align at the nose tab. Well, the Giants had to roll out some 5-man fronts because they couldn't stop the run. And even then, the double teams of the Philadelphia Eagles were just removing the defenders. And It wasn't just Roy Robertson Harris and DJ Davidson and Darius Alexander and players like that. Those players who also had quality plays, right? Like there were like one-off plays that those players made where I was like, that's an impressive play. And Dexter Lawrence can give you that, but Dexter Lawrence is starting to find himself in that conversation where it's like, yeah, I'll have the one-off play, but he's not making the ground-breaking play. And then he's also getting driven 5 yards off the line of scrimmage by two guys who were, adequate offensive linemen. What exactly is going on here? That happened a couple times in this game, dude.
Yeah, it's been a really disappointing season. We're almost halfway through 8 games into a season. And like you said, he hasn't had that dominant game like we've seen from him in the past. I mean, even dating back to last year, he was dominant even week 1 against the Vikings. And just, it's just, I don't know exactly how much the injury is playing a factor. I don't know exactly how much just being on this losing feeling team for a while is playing a factor, but he's in the best position he's been in his career from a situational standpoint, Nick, right? I mean, maybe this isn't the best situation of his career because the scheme doesn't fit him perfectly, but he's never played with Carter, Thibodeau, who's playing better than he's ever played with, and Burns on a team. He should be feasting, and I'll talk about this a little later, but I actually like what I saw from Darius Alexander, and now there were some bad reps too, but some of the reps some of his high-end reps were really good in this game, and I felt like he was better in the run game as well than from what I've seen him as far as just winning or losing his blocks. So, like, there's a lot of talent he's working with around him, and yet we're not seeing the best version of Dexter Lawrence this year at all.
Not even close, because that wasn't the only time he got driven, 5 yards. That happened like 3 times in this game, 3 or 4 times, him losing the double teams at an alarming rate. And just to, talk more broadly about the Giants defense, talk about just getting out-muscled. The physicality of the Philadelphia Eagles was something that the New York Giants could not contend with in week 8. They were getting bitched up and down the line of scrimmage like crazy. Their linebackers lacked instincts, specifically Darius Muasau, who we're probably going to release this episode, the defense episode, before the offensive episode, but we talked about it for like 5 minutes on the offensive episode. It was one of the worst performances I have ever seen from a New York Giants linebacker, and we've covered a lot of bad linebacker play.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of bad linebacker play, but week 8 against this Philadelphia Muasau, and we'll go over some of the clips and some of the reasons why, was just very undisciplined with his run fits, just not gap sound at all, making really poor decisions that left the Giants and left Tyler Nubin into a place where he's going to look like even though, Tyler Nubin he's an athletically deficient player, but Tyler Nubin shouldn't be in that position to fill from depth. That should be Darius Muasau, who is there. But Raheem Nunez-Roches is getting driven 5 yards laterally off the line of scrimmage to make that hole even bigger. And then it all falls on 27. And this is not me absolving 27. I think 27 is having a horrendous season, a horrendous sophomore season here. But at the same time, a lot of the plays that a lot of fans point to for Tyler Nubin being terrible, it's him really trying to overcome the fact that nobody did their job in front of him, right? And he is the safety, point. and that is his job, right? But he's not that kind of guy right now. He's not that type of player who is going to be a world beater at safety and who can rectify the issues of a poor defense up front who is not gap sound. And Muasau has done this several times, man. Muasau is just, it was a horrendous performance overall. And I know I went on a little bit of a rant there, Dan, but I don't remember a game where the Giants were this atrocious in run defense in recent memory. Probably last season, we thought it was going to be that way, but the Giants changed things up to where they kind of shut down the run towards the end of the year. But holy crap, man, from every single way you could be bad at run defense, the Giants were bad on tape. And that's one of the reasons why they surrendered 277 yards and 10 plus yards per carry to both Tank Bigsby and Saquon Barkley, who both went north of 100. Just absolutely embarrassing, really.
Yeah, and there were moments toward the end of the game where you could flip it and say, well, this is what the Giants did to the Eagles 2 weeks ago on Thursday Night Football, where they just ran and got chunks of yards. And that was what the Eagles did toward the end of that game. And look, on the Muasau front, like we dealt, I mean, in the end of 2022, during that 3-7-1 stretch, there was also some really bad linebacker games from some of the players the Giants were trotting out there. I remember like the end of Jalen Smith was so bad, and just
Tae Crowder,
like, but I mean, look, man, Muasau, we praised him in some recent games, and again, he had some decent plays and screens and crap like that, but he is not. This just doesn't look to me like a player. Like, you got to wait and let him develop. Like, this doesn't look like an NFL player on a field, and you just shouldn't be surprised that when you're trotting out a 7th or 6th round pick, I don't even care or remember to forget. Like, my memory's not good enough to remember if he was 6th or 7th round, that you're just going to have really potentially play that's not up to the standard of NFL level. It's very possible, Joe Shane, that if you have to trot someone out here for an important role like this, and he's a 6th or 7th round pick, he won't be able to play that role at a high level or even at a passable level. And that's what it's looking like with Darius Muasau. And we just can't keep putting ourselves in position at linebacker. This is like 2022 happened, and the Giants, that should have been a wake-up call for them in 2022. And they did make some action, right? Like right away, they signed Bobby Okereke and they drafted Mike McFadden. Since then, they've done nothing but use a 6th or 7th round pick on Darius Muasau. No free agents.
2022, though.
McFadden was drafted in 2022. Correct. Yeah. Good point. But he was just not playing good football that year.
Yeah.
So then even worse, since then, all they've done is sign Bobby Okereke and draft Darius Muasau. That's literally all they've done at the linebacker position. We're 2023. We're 3 seasons later. And this is a disaster right now. Okereke is not the same player he was during that Wink season. He's slow, man. Like he makes some plays, and at times he looks decently fast, but he is not moving sideline to sideline like he was that 2023 season with the Giants, or even at times in 2022. And Muasau's not an NFL player, and they have no options apparently behind him. And this is the problem. Like, and we'll see how it goes with the Browns, because I'm interested to see this. Schlesinger just got hurt, and he was playing at a high level. I wonder if their defense will take a steep drop off, because they looked their worst by far against the Patriots this season, the Cleveland Browns. Drake may torch them. And, you know, when you don't have these linebackers in the middle, the Ravens earlier this year when Roquan went down, and now he's back, and they were back on defense. Like, we will learn very easily how important this position is, despite what Joe Shane or what some of the new age GMs will tell us about this position. So I think they're thinking of it too binary. They're thinking of it too like they're thinking of these thumping linebackers, which are a thing of the past. I agree. Those 250, 260 pound linebackers who just come downhill against the run. But you still need instincts at the position. You still need these guys to play that second, to understand how to play the second level of the defense and to make plays in the game and against the run. And Muasau's not that guy.
Muasau and Tyler, we brought it up on yesterday's show, right? The reaction show. Both of them are cerebrally advanced. That's how they're sold, right? Like these guys, they will be in position because they know what is going on, the X's and O's, all of this. And if they're not, they just don't have the athletic ability to compensate for the lack of understanding what the offense is going to do before the offense does it.
I don't think they do that well either. Like, I don't.
That's my point. That's my point, dude. My point is they're not doing that well, right?
Right.
So when they're not doing that well, that's why you see 27 and 53 in the positions that they're so frequently in. Like Muasau, how many times are we going to see him try to get the edge and then just miss the tackle and get 4 missed tackles in this? He had an 80% missed tackle rate. 4 missed tackles, 80% missed tackles.
And that doesn't even speak on, like, that's frustrating watching him try to get to the edge and not be fast enough. And then even when he does miss the tackle, what's even more frustrating, and I have a few reps that we can go over, we don't even have to, it doesn't matter. I put him on Twitter, like, where he just like lollygags his way into somebody climbing, an offensive lineman climbing to the second level and just takes him out of the play. It's like, what are you doing, dude? What are you walking up into a block for? Like, he walks his way into blocks like I've never seen from a linebacker and just takes himself out of a play.
Yeah, the continuity of the defense is not intact. And one of the reasons why is because he's not like Muasau has been a big problem with this run defense recently. Yeah. And in this game, it was on a hyper display, right? And credit to the Eagles offensive line and the Eagles in general for designing a rushing scheme and also just kicking the out of the New York Giants from a physical standpoint.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the Giants, I felt like they were a chicken with their heads cut off, especially towards the end of the game. Just don't trust each other at all. They're just running around. They're just chasing. There's no discipline whatsoever. They are not gap sound. Like the Eagles, man. Credit to Stoutland and Nick Sirianni and the Eagles in general, man. They were using concepts that the Giants have struggled to defend all season, right? They could pull Brett Toth a lot, the center. Like he's a backup center, and he did really well when he was pulling. And they would pull Brett Toth and the play side tackle around either a nub tight end or the double Y set, who would block down, kind of like a crack toss, only it's not necessarily a crack from a wide receiver. It's the tight ends blocking down on the end man on the line of scrimmage. And then you have Big Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata kicking into space against Tae Banks or Cordell Flott. And then Brett Toth is leading right to the most dangerous man. And Saquon and Tank Bigsby were able to expose the Giants and exploit them for several yards on those design plays, those little misdirection, halfback pitch toss, the skip, pull, fold block. They were doing a lot of little creative things to gain an advantage and to create gaps to the play side. And the Giants are just not a team to be able to put themselves into position to account for those extra gaps. They do not seem to be, I don't know if it's well prepared. I don't know if it's they're just getting beat up the entire game, so they're just out of position. I'm not 100% sure. And a lot of us, we blame, including myself, and I think this blame is warranted to some degree, to Shane Bowen, but it's not necessarily all just on Shane Bowen. It's on Shane Bowen because this issue keeps happening. But at some point, the players need to play, and the players need to execute. And in this game specifically, they did not, and they were freaking terrible, and they should be embarrassed about it. And I'm sure a lot of them are. What's up, bub? Let's be honest. How many of us have that doctor's appointment we've been putting off? The one you meant to make, but just never got around to? I'm sick right now, and that's why I'm happy that ZocDoc is around. ZocDoc is a free app and website that makes booking doctor's appointments quick and easy. Whether it's primary care, dental health, mental health, or urgent care, ZocDoc has you covered with over 100,000 in-network doctors. You can search by specialty, insurance, location, and even availability. So if you've been meaning to get checked out or have a visit that's overdue, ZocDoc helps you find and book the right doctor for you right now. And the best part, you can see appointment slots and book instantly, often in the same day or within 24 to 72 hours. That's convenient. You don't have to wait weeks anymore. Plus, you can filter for specific preferences, like if you want a doctor who speaks your language or has hours that fit your schedule. So stop putting it off, ladies and gentlemen. Go to ZocDoc.com/banter to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/banter. Again, Zulu, Oscar, Charlie, Delta, Oscar, Charlie.com/banter. Don't wait for a problem to get worse. That's never a good thing. Get the care you need when you need it. I'll be real with you guys. Selecting underwear is a burden of responsibility. This cloth, this material, it lives so close in proximity to the most personal areas of our lives. And that's why you need to find underwear that actually fits well, that is comfortable, that treats you with the respect that you deserve. And that's exactly how I felt when I discovered Skims. My personal favorite of Skims is the cotton 5-inch boxer brief. I've tried every boxer brief in the game, but this one finally nails it. They hit right on the thigh and actually stay there. No riding up, no bagging out, no awkward 5 p.m. wedgie that you need to adjust in front of a subway full of people. The fabric feels soft but durable, and it keeps its shape. Bottom line, I feel comfortable, I feel confident, and I don't have to think about my underwear all day. That's a win. If you've been sleeping on Skims Men, it's time to check them out. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com and let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and pick our show in the drop-down menu that follows.
Yeah, it's a combination of Shane's. Shane Bowen and Joe Shane. Joe Shane hasn't provided enough depth. And the issues are apparent. He also just has completely ignored the linebacker position as if it's not even worth anything at the NFL level. And you look at what happens, and this is what happens. You went into this game knowing this would happen, Nick, and then it happened exactly as you thought it would happen. The Giants have no solution in the run game. And there are issues with the cutbacks. There's also issues, man, when they just can't, they're just so slow sideline to sideline for me, man. Like watching some of these plays on all 22, they're just not making it there. They're not fast. They're not athletic enough to play the position. And you just can't get away with it at the NFL level. I don't know what position you can get away with as a deficiency at the NFL level, to be honest, but it's sure as hell no, it's not the second level completely. Your off-ball linebackers, as some have described it, might be, because it's obvious. I've watched too much tape on this shit like this, man. Like the 2022 season and now this. Like I've watched too much of this shit linebacker play to understand, to know that you can just throw it out and then not prioritize it in any certain way.
And it's even bigger than the linebacker. Like the linebacker play, I would say, is the primary culprit, but the defensive line is getting removed. Right? Like a down block on a defensive lineman is going to push him. And it's happening to Dexter Lawrence, as we brought up at the top of the show, right? They're getting pushed 5 yards laterally or vertically, right? And that's going to lead to a much bigger responsibility for the linebacker. And if the linebacker doesn't know where he's going, then Tyler Nubin's sitting there like, I'm not athletic enough to handle this situation. Like what the hell do you expect from me? And a part of me feels bad for Nubin when he's put into that spot, but he isn't athletic. He's not good enough to overcome that. Like that's a tough spot for a safety to find himself in consistently against Saquon Barkley, 26, running through a wide open cutback hole because Muasau isn't there and Raheem Nunez-Roches is blocked 5 yards down the line of scrimmage. Like that's a spot to find yourself in. And I don't have like too much sympathy for him, but when everybody's blaming him, I'm like, but like, we got to talk about the other issues with this defense, right? And there are a lot of them. It's not just Tyler Nubin.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a confluence. It's so many things at play here. I agree with you. It's a good take. It's not one guy. It's not Nubin. It's not Muasau. It's the way they're coached. It's the scheme. It's the players. It's a combination of those three things. And that's why they're turning it into one of the, I mean, at least over the last 5 quarters of football, one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They've allowed 73 points over 5 quarters. Like, it's absolutely absurd. Even if you just say over 8 quarters, because they shut him out the first 3 quarters of the game 2 weeks ago, that's still way too many points to allow in 2 games.
No, 100%, man. And again, man, some of it is scheme. Like we don't like Shane Bowen's scheme because it's not creative, right? But when you're talking about run defense, like do your job and it's you know what I mean? It does get
be sound in your gap. Yes.
Be sound in your gap. And we're not going to be talking about Shane Bowen not being able to be we're not going to be talking about the Giants run defense giving up 277 yards, right? And that's a big story in this game. Like, look, we can get into the officials because it really affected the Giants defense, and we'll probably talk about that in a little bit. But that's not the story of this game. The story of this game, I mean, it kind of will be, but the story of this game still is like, I was watching the Eagles, all of them, just throw New York Giants defenders to the ground, man. Just tossing them, dude. Creative rushing scheme, right? And the Giants just cannot combat it. Like, we can get into Abdul Carter too first. I see people, what's Abdul Carter? Abdul Carter had 5 pressures in this game. Abdul Carter got put into the deck so many times by Lane Johnson, right? But at the same time, with every time he's getting driven into the deck, he is defeating Lane Johnson, and he is right in the face of Jalen Hurts, and he is causing this sack by Raheem Nunez-Roches, and he is doing this, and the Eagles are making him a re-defender, and they're designing their offense to account for number 51. That's what a rookie is doing, and then people are blaming him like he's some kind of bust. I'm like, dude, Abdul Carter is playing well right now, and yes, he'll lose his reps because he is a rookie, and he's not going to be able to handle the strength of a Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata on the regular all of the time, especially when he is attempting not even just to take them on, but to evade them, right? Like, I'm not going to go at you at strength. I'm going to try to evade you. And there are times where he draws the holding penalty, which, penalties, we're not going for the Giants too much in this game, as you guys are aware of, where he's able to draw that. But then there's going to be times where he's going to attempt to do that move or a similar move, and Lane Johnson's going to get a beat on it. And in doing so, he's going to be able to take you and embarrass you. And that's what happened to Abdul Carter. But I would take that along with all of the positives that he provides the New York Giants, and that's those individual wins right now that aren't translating necessarily to stats when it comes to sacks, but he's putting the Giants defense in a position to make plays at least. And this is a rookie that we're talking about. So I'm not criticizing him for losing some of those reps. That's going to happen against quality blockers like the Philadelphia Eagles have on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it's a good take. It's a tough matchup for him. But even with that, the first sack, I think it was credited to Nunez-Roches and Dexter Lawrence. That's Abdul Carter.
Alexander,
yeah. I'm giving that one to Carter. Carter forces Hurts by winning his rep, forces Hurts to step up into the sack. That's Carter. He then has a run stop earlier, a TFL run stop later, maybe a couple days later, a series later. Great play by him. He has another play that I put up on Twitter where he loops around, is going to make a sack on Hurts, or at least force a pressure and kill the play, but he gets held by the neck and it's not called on that one. He did get called on one of his holds. And so it's like, like how many times are we going to go over this tape and go over this defensive all 22 film review and tell the listeners, like, we see a handful each game of holds on Abdul Carter that aren't called, for them, for the narrative to change on him. I don't know. I think ultimately when it comes to these types of players, man, like, people just want sacks. They just want to see track. I want 7 sacks, 8 sacks. Like, they just want that specific stat to be good for a player. But I think we've kind of gone over it at length here, but I'll reiterate it. If you're using sacks as a way to determine if a player is playing well, it's not a good indicator, man, because there are so many other aspects of playing the position and playing defense than just a specific one stat, in my mind, at least. And I think Abdul Carter is a great example of that.
Yeah, of course. He has 32 pressures right now on the season. That's what, like 11th in the National Football League, and he's not playing as many snaps as a lot of these other guys. And he's on a team that is 2-6.
And he doesn't get to play the edge every snap.
Yeah, and there's that too. Like, he had a few nice plays at linebacker. So I have been pleased with everything I've seen, with a lot of what I've seen from Abdul Carter. And
I wouldn't say everything. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I've been pleased as well.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And that one play you brought up, though, the looping, and that was on the Devonta Smith comeback where he cooked Tae Banks. And that was I don't understand. I put it up on Twitter and I said, I circled the refs. I was like, you guys got to investigate this, right? Because they're both looking right at it. And it's not even like a little hold and you let go. Abdul Carter's entire body got twisted to where his shoulders were like this. I just don't understand how you missed that.
I had decided I don't really understand holding and how it's called. I'm gonna have to
subjective.
And seems subjective. It just seems like I have to look into the rule book though too, because I don't know what if you're allowed
to hold. There is no look into the rule book. That's
but I put it. I believe you. And then I put up a clip very similar to it a week or two ago where it looked almost exactly the same. And someone's like, no, the NFL has now agreed to allow that if this and this.
You were talking about the guy going around the edge and he's kind of trying to stay in front of him, but it's a little bit of an arm bar. That's different than what happened on that play.
It's different, but it's still the clothesline around the neck that I don't think should be allowed regardless. But then there's also the play earlier in the game, or at another point in the game, that led to a touchdown later for the Eagles and would have been a stop, where Jalen Hurts gets pressure up the middle from Thibodeau, who's looping around, and he breaks pocket to the left. And Mailata I think this is a hold. I don't know if it's technically a hold.
It is a hold.
Where he just is literally holding Darius Alexander inside the pads, but is grabbing him, and you could see him pulling on the jersey. And then I looked up holding rule online, and it was and it basically said that is a hold, but it's not called. And you could see Darius Alexander couldn't even move. It almost looked like a video game.
Well, what happened on that play was Darius Alexander, or Jordan Mailata, had his hands fit inside, right? And everything's tight. They don't usually call that, and you can hold there. But once Jalen Hurts broke contain, you see Jordan Mailata hold on as Darius Alexander is attempting to get outside. That's where the hold needs to be called. And we've seen that several times called, but these refs are just absolutely.
Throw it up here. You can throw it up here just so people can see what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
91 is on the edge there, and you could see him matched up with the left tackle on the left side of your screen. And this was a key play because it led to a conversion. This would have been a dead drive for the Eagles.
See,
how is that not a hold?
No, right here it's fine.
Right,
everything's inside. Everything is fine right now. Everything is fine. It's right here is where where it needs to be called. That needs to be called. The ref is looking this way. The other ref is, I don't know, tickling Nicholas Sirianni, doing whatever the hell they're doing. I'm very unsure, but that's a blatant hold.
You got to allow him to make a play at it.
Yes, that's a blatant hold that was missed. There's plenty. I'm sure there were some that were missed on the Giants, albeit it seemed like a lot. It was pretty. This was, again, the worst officiated game I have ever seen covering the New York Giants. Absolutely horrendous. The Kayvon Thibodeau play is just, I still don't understand it. I'm so glad that people are not letting this go on social media, on radio and everything, because Brad Rogers and his officiating crew need to be held accountable to some degree. And I think ultimately, as I said, we tweeted right after basically the play, this will be the death knell to the tush push play. That, what happened there, there's really no excuse. These officials are way too incompetent to properly officiate this play. And I just don't understand how that wasn't a fumble. You're muted, bud.
Sorry. I was going to say, I don't understand it either, quite honestly, but I think it was just can be attributed just a mistake by the officials, honestly. And
Yeah.
sometimes they're going to make mistakes, but
Yeah.
that was a pretty big one. It kind of changed the entire flow of the game for the Giants.
I'd say so. And I'd be more angry about it if the Giants weren't just absolutely outclassed by Philadelphia for much of this game, because that's exactly what happened in the game in general. So before we get into some plays, I also want to talk about Tae Banks. Now, I think people on the podcast who listen know my feelings on Tae Banks. I don't hide any punches when it comes to that. But I'll say this: some pretty good coverage for a lot of this game. And I wanted to get your take on that. Mute again, I think.
Sorry, muted again. Having trouble with the mute button. I think with Banks, it's hard to differentiate as an analyst or a fan what he offers as a in pass coverage versus what he offers in the run game. Because I find myself so frustrated watching the Giants all 22 with Banks. Like, even the plays where he's like, all right, I see people have been bashing me for not having outside contain. Let me get really outside on this. But then he just gets kind of ridden out of bounds, and he just never aggressively attacks in any way, shape, or form in the run game. And it bothers me. But when you think about him just in pass coverage, like, he did not have a bad game in pass coverage. Obviously, the one play with the Devontae Smith comeback is going to like ring true, and people are going to be pointing to that and looking at it like he was so bad on this play. And I get that he's going to have some bad reps here or there. But as I mentioned last week, to me, he is by far and away a better option than like going to Corey Black or something like that, which we may have to see, by the way, more of with Cordell Flott hurt.
It's terrible. And you're right. Now there was the comeback to Devonta Smith. And first I'll say this: Devonta Smith is just a insane route runner. Like, he's very good at running routes.
Yes.
A lot of his routes, like, you could just see the subtleties, and he's just putting it in Cordell Flott or Tae Banks or Corey Black into a really tough spot to cover him. He's underrated football player, dare I say, because he's, with AJ Brown and on this team that doesn't necessarily need him, but his feet and his deceptive micro movements up the route stem are very impressive. But with that said, I felt like Tae Banks, whenever he was on, other than the comeback route, and then there was one other play where Tae Banks, it would have, like, Giants Twitter would have been killing Tae Banks, man. They would have been furious with him if Jalen Hurts threw to the boundary side on the cover 0 Corey Black touchdown.
But
he threw to the field side because Tae Banks got cooked on that one. It seemed like his feet got tangled up, and Devonta Smith was wide open, but it didn't necessarily matter. But from a coverage standpoint, he's in the hip pocket a lot, and that's something that we've said. It's just he's just not a good football player. That's the problem with Tae Banks. He's doesn't really know what he's doing. He has zero instincts, zero ball skills, but he's athletic enough to cover somebody, and that's where he excels, if he excels at anything.
Yeah, and they're going to need to rely on him at this point because of the injuries to the corner situation. Who knows if Flott will be ready for this next week or a Debo on that front. Yeah,
man. But dude, this defensive film was tough. It was rough.
It was ugly.
And we can get into some of it. And we'll go over some of these long run plays where the Giants just absolutely horrendous. I will there should be a piece dropping on Big Blue View shortly of like 5 of the biggest run mishaps, and I detail it via writing if you guys want to check that out. But we'll go over some of that in video form right now. And the first is the second play of the game, 2nd and 10, 65-yard touchdown rush by Saquon Barkley. Giants actually play it well to the front side, but you'll see it's just embarrassing. But I want to go over it from the end zone copy. We've already mentioned it a few times on the on this episode. Now look, you have a big offensive lineman with 74. This is something that Philadelphia Eagles incorporated into their rushing time. They aligned with 6 offensive linemen, and they were going in with 12, 13 personnel sometimes. You just talk about really heavy personnel. So you have Grant Calcaterra there. You have Carter as a wide receiver. There's a big overloaded formation for Philadelphia. So the Giants match it with an over front, and they push everybody with a 6 technique over the big offensive tackle, being Roy Robertson Harris. You have the 3 technique over play side guard, and then you have a 1 technique over Toth at center. And then you see, if you look to the left side of the screen, a big old natural bubble here. That's a bubble to the backside. That B gap is wide open. Kayvon is a 5 technique to the outside. You can even say he's wider than that. So it behooves Darius Muasau. He must protect that backside B gap. You have to protect that backside B gap. You have all these bodies to the front side. I know there's a lot of beef over there, but you cannot allow a cutback lane. And you can see the Giants play this relatively well to the front side. I feel like Brian Burns does a good job shedding Grant Calcaterra and presenting his numbers to Saquon Barkley. And you could see that double team. And once you see, even pre-snap, that there's a double team possibility on Raheem Nunez-Roches, Darius Muasau needs to shade to that B gap to protect it. He does not. He steps towards the line of scrimmage, gets way too tight. Landon Dickerson easily climbs up, and then he just seals Muasau from the gap. And then you can see Raheem Nunez-Roches is bounced back from that initial double team too. Kayvon is protecting the edge, doesn't restrict the B gap because he thinks Muasau was going to be there. Flott steps up with Devonta Smith, has secondary contain unless, or that is, of course, if Saquon Barkley bounces to the outside, and now you have this wide open gap with Tyler Nubin there because Darius Muasau is nowhere to be seen, and Tyler Nubin is not the athlete to be able to really close with on Saquon Barkley. I think if you're Nubin in this case, man, like you can't give the two-way go. You can't stop start. He is just way too slow-footed and unathletic. And again, he's an athletic guy, of course, but relative to Saquon Barkley, he can't stop start like that. Like you just need to be aggressive and just go into the tackle point, man, because how many times are we going to see you just get burnt up the sideline like this?
Yeah, agreed. And I think part of the problem is, as you mentioned, that's something that I really noticed throughout the tape with Musa. He just gets too tight to the line of scrimmage, and it allows these offensive linemen to climb and take him out of plays. And it's like once he seals this block off, he not only takes Musa out of the play, he eliminates any opportunity for Dane Belton to make a play on this either, coming from the backside. And so that takes another defender out of the play. If he's aggressive, like you said, and instinctual and protects that B gap, worst thing that's going to happen is Dickerson is going to be climbing and no one to locate at second level. He's either going to look for Dane Belton and cut him off or try to go and take out Moose out of the play and climb toward him. But that's not going to provide Barkley the same lane. Like, look at this lane that's provided by there just being no chaos and no bodies in the middle, because Dickerson's been able to completely seal off Moose out back to the inside, and then Belton doesn't have an angle to come make a play on it.
It's just excellent backside blocking from the Philadelphia Eagles. Bad execution.
Really bad by the Giants. Yeah.
And just bad execution by Darius. You know what this reminded me of? This game by Muasau, that Austin Calitro game against the Cowboys a few years ago. Remember that?
Yeah.
A little bit of a throwback, but yeah, this is just, yeah, right. And Muasau,
we're talking about players who shouldn't be in the NFL if you're mentioning him in that regard. And that's really frustrating for me because this guy's playing a lot of snaps for the Giants.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude. And here's a 2nd and 5, quarter one, 11:28 left. This is the 18-yard rush by Tank Bigsby, and this is just bad contained by Brian Burns and Tae Banks. And Brian Burns, I'm sure he'd be probably the first to say this. He just gets too far inside. Like, he does a good job keeping Dallas Goedert off of his chest, right? See, restrict, but he doesn't gain, or he doesn't press the line of scrimmage close enough to force an edge to kick 37 towards Bobby Okereke. Instead, Tank Bigsby, he ends up just hitting the hole. And then, of course, you have Tae Banks there. Tae Banks isn't going to be a secondary contained defender. He doesn't know how to do that. So he also gets pushed way too far inside and cheats towards this open C gap where you have Bobby Okereke right there as well. So there's just no continuity. These guys don't really know where to be or how to play it. And this is on Burns as well. And Burns, look, this is like his one mistake. Like, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So I'm not like trying to bury Brian Burns on this play, but this is still a mistake that he made. And you know, you have Tae Banks protecting you there. That's not the guy you necessarily want to protect you.
Yeah, I mean, Banks, once again, I don't really know why he's cheating into the inside here, but even once he goes back outside, this is what I was talking about earlier, just gets kind of ridden out of bounds. Like, he's not going to make a physical tackle here.
No, he never does.
Bigsby.
It's not a physical
player.
Like,
if Burns doesn't come to help at the end of this play, like, Bigsby might even just chuck him out. I got to rewatch this. He might just chuck him out of bounds and keep going, potentially.
It's not impossible. There's a non-zero chance that might happen. And then Okereke, look, I think Okereke takes a lot of shit on Twitter, and he's in a tough spot playing next to players like Darius Muasau in front of this defensive line. But he is losing a step. I see that on tape. But even on a play like this, man, like, you have that double team. There's another 6 offensive tackle with the Johnson duo there, and Lane Johnson and the other Johnson. I can't remember his first name, but that's what 74 is. And they drive Roy Robertson Harris out of here. They're like, bye, right? And now Okereke is in this hole. And
I know.
I don't think Okereke is doing anything wrong here, right? Like, Okereke is in position to make the tackle. That is his responsibility. So it's tough for me to sit here and be like, oh, what the hell? But, like, I also look at it and I'm like, I just think a good linebacker would close, a better linebacker, I should say, would fill that and close the width and not give Bigsby the opportunity to bounce it outside. But then again, like, I look at it and I'm like, how can I blame Okereke when it really is Burns and Tae Banks'
No, but
fault?
you're
But
right.
you just
It's not
want
about blaming. It's about pointing it out. Like,
exactly. You just want that
it's all
linebacker to
part of why they suck on run defense, because he's very tentative when it
yeah.
comes to these types of plays. And
Like here,
yeah,
like
he's fine.
how many times have you seen like Fred Warner, Roquan Smith? A lot of
Right.
linebackers just shoot this right here
They'll
and then
shoot
tackle
it.
Tank
Yeah.
Bigsby for a 1 or 2 yard loss instead of like waiting patiently for even
Right.
if Tank Bigsby didn't have the vision to bounce it outside. This is still probably going to be like a 2 yard gain. I prefer the 2 yard loss. I'd prefer the aggressive approach
Right.
from Bobby Okereke. Instead, use the word tentative. I think that's a perfect word for it. He's a little bit tentative, and then he reacts, and then by this point, Bigsby just sees, oh, no one's even contained, right? So it's just even when you're doing your job correctly, the Giants are still not enough defensively. Right. That's a problem, dude.
Yeah, that's a talent issue.
That's a talent issue. And it's just that step slow. The Giants, that defines this run defense, is just a step slow. It's a play speed thing, and not necessarily just because of athletic ability, which it is. It's also mental.
It is mental, yeah. And it's crazy, Nick, because, dude, we talked about this all offseason when we were previewing the Giants this year. We're like, the run defense, I don't really know if they did enough to fix this run defense. We're like, I guess we hope McFadden takes another step forward. We hope Alexander can be amazing right from the start in run defense. Well, that's too much to ask from a third rounder who was like injured all offseason. And then McFadden got hurt. And it's like, after that, I guess we had no other options because the run defense was shit last year. And it's even worse this year.
Yeah, 100%, man. Here's a 3rd and 3, end of the first quarter. The Giants just play man coverage with a. Well, actually, no. I think it's 7:18 left in the first quarter. My bad. But Giants play man coverage. They spy Jalen Hurts, and it actually works for them. Bobby Okereke does a good job recovering. After you can see Bobby Okereke in the middle of the field, he flows outside once Jalen Hurts opens that way. But then he ends up just sprinting towards the sideline. And to his credit, he ends up getting to Jalen Hurts for, I don't even think there was a gain here. And the coverage on the back end is good by the New York Giants as well. So this is a well-executed play by the Giants defense.
Yeah, a rarely well-executed man coverage play by them in this game.
Exactly. And we'll see it from the end zone angle. See the pass rush. Abdul Carter just splits the double team. You can see how, like, and this is another thing about Abdul Carter, man. People giving him shit. It's like, I can't tell you how many times the guard will always have his eyes towards Abdul Carter when Carter goes inside. You can see 56 right here. They're like, oh, is that Dexter Lawrence, by the way? I think that is Dexter Lawrence. He's like, oh, I got Dexter Lawrence. I'm going to pay attention to Abdul Carter. And then Dexter Lawrence can't take advantage of the situation either. Abdul Carter gets tossed to the ground. It's probably going to, I don't know if this is a hold. Let's see. It's not the most egregious, but possibly, I don't know. But good play by the Giants on the back end, but it's just there is an effect that Carter is having on this game that he's not necessarily translating to the stats.
Correct.
And here's another solid play by the Giants, right? This is the Giants crowd the line of scrimmage, 3rd and 3, end of the first quarter. I like the approach to crowd the line of scrimmage, and then they bail to an inverted cover 2 type of look with Brian Burns in coverage. Bobby Okereke drops off to wall off anything coming from the boundary side. And I think Bobby Okereke does a great job once Devonta Smith goes out, right? Because you can see him flip back. He's like, okay, I don't need to wall off either of these players because they're both out breaking routes or that they declare vertical. So nobody is going to the inside. I don't need to execute the wall. So now I'm just going to turn towards the front, locate Saquon Barkley, and then drive. This is a good play by Bobby Okereke, right? Makes the tackle and forces a 4th down. But the 4th down, they ended up picking up. Jalen Hurts picked it up with his legs, and there was no quarterback spy on that one, which was confusing to me.
I think that was the 4th down I went over earlier, but Dexter Lawrence just couldn't beat Toth one-on-one.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And on this play, he's up against Toth again, works to the inside and just a bit too slow there. But next play, I think it was too, possibly, or 2 plays later, a few plays later, I think it was second. Actually, no, it might have been a drive later. So disregard. 2nd and 9. This is the Barkley rail touchdown. This is basically the same play the Giants ran. I don't know what happened here because
I don't know either. I went over this a bunch and I just couldn't figure out what the situation was.
That is very graceful by Saquon Barkley. But yeah, no, Muasau blitz. The Giants did decide to blitz, and he was towards Saquon Barkley's side. But I have to imagine the Giants had a contingency for this exact play, and they didn't. And Tyler Nubin gets schemed basically 2 versus 1. Nobody took Barkley. I don't know if it was supposed to be Belton or Okereke. Don't know, but it's an easy touchdown.
Too easy. And they have a free rusher on the play with Kayvon. Kayvon just misses this too. It's a game of inches, bro. Yep.
Thought Kayvon played well though in this game.
Definitely.
All right. Here we're going to have that sack It's a third and 7 sack in the second quarter. Cover 1 sack, little ET, freeing
Giving
up,
this one to Carter.
freeing up Abdul Carter, forces Jalen Hurts to step up in the pocket. He doesn't even get any credit for this, which is unfortunate. This
Right.
is a well-executed twist. Like 68 had to gain a lot of depth into the pocket because of Kayvon Thibodeau's path. And then Carter just times it very well. Dickerson wanted to be patient with his approach. Carter just breaks the shed, forces the step up, and Alexander's right there for the sack, along with Kayvon. Here, this is the
Comeback route.
Yeah, this is the comeback route. You'll see just quick, well executed by Devonta Smith against Tae Banks. That was Tae Banks' worst play pass, and there's the hold like that Dan and I were mentioning earlier. It's just
Carter, yeah.
another well executed TE from wide. This is Shane Bowen loves to rush wide like this, and I don't even know how this isn't called. Like, look how far. Like, look how much his upper body is twisted, dude.
True.
And both of these idiots are looking at it, and there's just nothing. I just can't comprehend that. But I'm not going to try to comprehend these morons at this point.
No.
Here we have another sack. This is Raheem Nunez-Roches getting in and finishing off Jalen Hurts for a sack. I think I was supposed to have the Dallas Goedert touchdown. I must not have included it. If you have it, by the way,
I don't have that one.
Yeah, well, on that play, it's just we could talk about that play. It's just the Giants, they don't have the linebacker speed to close that throwing window whatsoever. It's just very frustrating. Here's some more bad run defense by the Giants. The sack by Nacho was good coverage, though, with Nubin taking the middle of the field. Here's a 28-yard rush, though, 1st and 10. Look, they did this a lot. You have the double Y set. We're going to pull the offensive tackle, play side tackle, and we're going to pull the center around to the front side. Great blocking by Toth. Toth did a great job in this game blocking in space. Goddard does a good job taking Okereke, who flowed aggressively over the top.
Right.
And then Belton, just the angle wasn't perfect. Like, Belton just gets put in there a little bit, but Belton ends up having the athletic ability and speed track Saquon Barkley down the sideline, whereas I just don't think Tyler Nubin has that at this point, unfortunately. But you see Roy Robertson Harris just double blocked. No one's getting to the play side. Just well executed. Is what it is at this point, man. The Eagles ran that play, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
And it worked. Worked. Here we're going to have the Brian Burns sack. This is Jalen Hurts just getting cute, man. And the coverage downfield seemed to be on point, just man coverage. You had safety over the top with Dane Belton playing deep. You have trail technique. It's a pretty big trail. Looks like Tae Banks was beat a little bit by Smith there, but it doesn't matter because the pressure ends up getting home and brings Jalen Hurts down to the ground. And here Nubin does a good job being that extra. Like, this was like a delayed blitz, it seemed like. He was looking. And I'm wondering if this was like a fiddle type of technique. If Bigsby were to go to the left of the screen, maybe Nubin would have taken him and then Okereke would have blitzed. I don't know exactly what the rules were, but you can see Nubin tempers his blitz. And then when he decides to go, once the protection is declared, he has a free rush right at Hurts, and that forced Hurts to step up right towards Carter. And then Nubin took Carter out, but Burns cleaned it up. So that was a good play by the Giants pass rush.
Yeah, excellent play by them.
Oh, man, here, the next play, though. You force a 16-yard loss, and now you have a
second and 31 even.
2nd and 26, yeah. Tank Bigsby.
I don't know why I thought it was 31.
I think I said it was 31 on yesterday's show because I thought it was 31, but I was wrong. 2nd and 26. Tank Bigsby, 29-yard rush, and Muasau again, man, just like running like he's in quicksand.
Quicksand, yeah.
Just, I don't know what's going on here, but this is another good play. And look, this is a cutback lane. There's no continuity, no discipline, because you have Toth fold around 69, and then Burns does a good job shedding Mailata, presents his numbers, right? Just a little quick arm over move to the front side. Bigsby reads it. You can see the flow from the Giants. And then he's like, okay, I can handle Muasau in the hole. But Muasau's right here to make the play, Dan. Like, he's right there to make the freaking play. Abdul Carter went wide, and he just stops his feet. And just allows Bigsby to get outside because these linebackers are just tentative, man. They're just
the hell was that?
I just think slow processing, not playing confidently.
God,
forced to the out. And then not only just that, he ends up trying to make a tackle. It's too slow, and he takes out the contained defender.
Right.
They get the first down.
It's another 12 yards. Yeah.
I know, man. It's Muasau just rough. I just don't know if they have anybody else who can I just sounded like a dog there, by the way. But I don't know if they have anybody else who can
Yeah.
play right now. You have
No, they don't. They haven't drafted anybody. They haven't developed anybody, and they just
Board
pick
and
up like the
Flanagan.
CJ Board types. Like that's not it.
They're all hurt right now too.
Yeah.
And here's the second Dallas Goedert
This one I
touchdown.
put on Twitter. I guess I was wrong about it. I thought this should be deep OPI on Devontae Smith because Jalen Hurts doesn't make the pass, and it doesn't really look like he's running a route. It kind of just looks like he's blocking down there.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm not really sure. So why would you say you're wrong exactly? Like it looks like Tae Banks engages him because
that's what somebody said, that Tae Banks engaged him first, so it's not OPI.
Okay. But Okereke gets tripped up by the coverage, and he was supposed to take on Dallas Goedert, and then Drew Phillips, instead of going over top, he tried to undercut the rub route, the rub there, and in doing that, just gave Goddard an easy pitch and catch touchdown. Phillips, I think, only played like 31 snaps in this game because the Eagles were just in heavy personnel. The Eagles were just like, we're gonna bitch you, and they did. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, like that's always a bad look. That's always a bad look. And then we have the cover 0 Dotson touchdown. Just look at Tae Banks at the bottom of the screen though. Like if he went to that double move.
Yeah, you're right.
Killed Tae Banks, dude. That would have been terrible for Tae. But luckily for him,
not for us.
Not for us. All right. But Corey Black ends up. But you know what? I'll say this about Corey. This is a 6th round rookie, right? Who left our team to go chill on the practice squad of the New York Jets for a little while. Comes back. And he's in position here. This is good position. He just has the Tae Banks ball skills. And I don't even know if I should say that because Tae Banks would have never located the ball. So he just doesn't have the ball skills. And he's going up against a 1st-round receiver that, a lot of us have forgotten about. But I like Jahan Dotson at Penn State. I thought he was a good receiver. And he makes a good play on the football here. And just takes away what almost was an interception from Jalen Hurts away from this rookie and scores a tutty. That's, it's Giants bring the blitz again and, doesn't really get home. Verticals, no safety over the top, and that's just that's what a 6th-rounder looks like right there, guys. But yeah, those were all the films. Just atrocious run defense. You can even see, maybe posit, did they quit at the end of the 4th quarter? There were some bad tackle attempts there, a lot of missed tackles, just undisciplined football, and overall just embarrassed by the Philadelphia Eagles, really.
Yeah, it sucks because the Giants put up such a good fight against them in their first meeting, won the game by multiple scores. And there was an expectation, at least for me and you, that they could at least be competitive in this game. And they just were not competitive in this game. Some of it was, not to blame it, but some of it was the officiating. But it's not enough of an excuse.
No, I agree. And again, I think that's perfectly fair. This is a perfectly fair assessment. Like, the officiating was historically bad in this game, but the Giants, look at the way they play. Like,
the Giants can't hit the run.
Yeah, exactly.
At the NFL level, it really is, and that's a big problem.
Execute your assignment.
They can't.
What's your responsibility? Execute it to the best of your ability. Here they're not even where they're supposed to be, or they put themselves in a position to be there, and then they look just completely athletically overwhelmed by not just Saquon Barkley. You make that excuse for Saquon. He's a historic type of athlete at running back, but Tank Bigsby, who I think is a good running back, is making them look silly out there, right? So it's just, this is tape where today on Monday and Tuesday, they got to be like, there's probably a pit in their stomach watching this film.
Of course, yeah. It's going to be a frustrating watch, and they'll have to get themselves ready on a short week, or not a short week, but on a regular week.
It's not like they're playing Christian McCaffrey or anything next week.
Yeah, true. The 49ers have not been able to block the run, though, weirdly, this year. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, the Giants might be a get right. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Defensive All 22 podcast.
We do got superlatives too.
Oh shit, we forgot superlatives. I almost forgot about them for this game that was so bad. Let's do some superlatives, and then we'll wrap up here. Our unheralded player, is there one for you?
I said I would like to give it to an interior defensive lineman, either DJ Davidson, Roy Robertson Harris, or Darius Alexander, because they made a few nice plays. But then, just looking at it in its totality, I'm like, dude, how many times do I got to watch these guys just get bitched? I can't do that, right? And then I thought Tae Banks. And then I'm like, oh my God, but this guy just never deserves it. And really, I just don't think deserves it at all, even with this. So I went with Dame Belton.
Okay. I went with Darius Alexander. I do agree there were some reps where he got overwhelmed, but there were some really nice reps from him. And I think he's coming along pretty nicely.
I agree with that.
Highest effort player for you?
Abdul Carter.
Oh, Thibodeau, but I think you can give it to Carter or Thibodeau here in this game, or Burns, honestly, in every game. Best player on tape? I think we have the same one here.
I went with Kayvon.
Yeah, I think it was clearly the best player on tape for the Giants. Maybe the first he's won from us this year. Player expect to see more from is going to be Dexter
Yeah,
Lawrence.
Dexter Lawrence, of course. And to that, because it's built off that, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Dexter Lawrence, he's the fourth best defender on this team in 2025 right now, the way he's playing. And I
Yeah.
don't even think it's close. I think the 3 edge rushers have been substantially better and more impactful than Dexter
Yeah.
Lawrence, which sucks to say. And that's just because he was like so high, so much, he had a much higher ceiling and was higher than all of these guys. But now, so far, 8 games is a pretty big sample size. And Dex is just MIA kind of.
Yeah, we're going to have to see if he can bounce back in the second half of the season. Maybe this will be what he needs to get him jump started. Pass rush grade 1 through 10.
I had a 4.8.
I went with 5.4. I still think they won a lot of these reps. They just, maybe not in key moments. So about average seems fine. Run defense 1 through 10.
0.2.
I just went with 1-1, but it was really bad. It was really freaking bad. I'm sure it could be graded lower than even what I had it as. It's very frustrating, man. This is
structural. Yeah, man. Sorry. Yeah. Structural issues, not knowing where you're going to be. Like, just from every standpoint, the run defense was atrocious, right? Yeah. Every standpoint. Losing physically, not being where you're supposed to be, out athlete. Right. The structure of the defense, like just so many reasons to look at this and be like, what the hell are we doing, boys?
Collectively, they were just horrific in the run game. Hopefully they can prove that moving forward against the 49ers team that has struggled to block the run despite having Christian McCaffrey this year. So we'll see what happens in that game for the Giants at 2-6 now, as you can see behind the fridge. So we're at the point now where the playoffs are out of it. I mean, you could unrealistically expect that it's still possible to make the playoffs, but that would require us watching a team we haven't watched for the first 8 weeks, a consistent football team that plays smart. Not something the Giants do, and there's just too many holes on the roster right now. Leads me to believe they'd be complete idiots to trade for a receiver right now, despite us wanting to improve Jackson Dart's development. But we'll see if the Giants panic and do that. They're in a really weird spot, this regime, because I know for a fact, Nick, they can say all they want about Jackson Dart's development, but if they have more games like this one where they were embarrassed by a team, they're not coming back. They're just not coming back. And that's just the fact of the matter. They gave Mara gave him another year. They gave him another chance. And he said, like, I don't want to have another season like the last one where we won 4 games. Well, we're 2-6. So we're on pace to win another 4 games this year. Schedule gets easier, so that could change, but we'll see, man. Anyway, thanks again for tuning into the Big Blue Banter defensive film review. We will actually be back with you tomorrow with the offensive film review. We're switching it up this week because we wanted to talk about Dex and defense. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting the show, both on our live chats and our live shows where you leave us super chat questions, donate to the show, or the buy us a coffee. Really appreciate that. We've been overwhelmed with the support from you guys, even in a season like this where, again, it's turning on our heads. So one day we'll talk fun Giants football with you. I know it's coming at some point, Nick. Right? It has to be, I assume. But then again, we could, look to the Jets, who have just been in a miserable spiral for 40, 50 years. So hopefully the Giants aren't in that kind of spiral. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.